Welcome to Rebel Squadron. The Empire is spreading terror across the galaxy, and we need your help to break its iron grip.
It is time to bring the pain, recruit.
Welcome, recruit, to another episode from Rebel Squadron. Today we're going to go into a stat breakdown regarding some of the more confusing stats and whatnot in the game. We're not going to go over every single stat. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory. But I have had people ask a lot of questions about a lot of the same stats. And some of them are definitely not very clear cut. So we're going to go ahead and go over them today. And hopefully this will help you understand them better, especially when it comes to doing your mods, trying to figure out which ones you want to throw down on your characters, which ones you want to focus on, and how they're going to impact your squads in battle. So we're looking at Han Solo here, and strength, agility, tactics, and whatnot. As you can see, there are descriptions for each of them, and these aren't, they should be fairly self-explanatory, and the mods don't really cover these too much. When you get to the relic level, they will increase your mastery, but as far as the mods go, because that's what you really have control over as far as the stats, that's what we're going to focus on here. So yeah, your health and protection, that's pretty easy to figure out. Speed, crit damage. Your potency, that is your character's ability to apply detrimental effects to the opponent. That's going to include your ability blocks, your stuns, your dazes, your shocks, anything that's going to have, pretty much anything that's going to, it's going to pop that red icon on over their head. The higher your potency, the more likely that's going to happen. So if you got a character that inflicts a lot of debuffs, you're probably going to want to make sure they have a good amount of potency on them. And next we have tenacity, which is pretty much the opposite of that. That will increase a chance to ward off detrimental effects. So that's especially useful for characters such as tanks and characters that you really need to be able to have them doing their thing as often as possible. It just, it keeps, somebody's throwing ability blocks at you, stuns, dazes. In return, your tenacity is going to help keep those off your character. And then we have defense penetration, which doesn't get talked about much. The short of it is that it'll ignore your enemy's defense. So whatever your enemy's defense level is, this will bypass it and apply damage directly to their health and protection. And yeah, so you got your general damage output, you got your critical chance. That's just how the likelihood that they're going to get a crit when they hit. And the armor penetration, that's similar to the defense penetration, except that it ignores the armor instead of just the defense. So that's going to apply more damage. Like with the defense penetration, it's not going to be absorbed by the armor of the character. And you have your accuracy, which mitigates the target's ability to dodge your attack. If you've been playing for a while, you probably know that some characters are going to be pretty dodgy. and accuracy will actually help you be able to get the target, the damage on them to where they can't avoid it. It doesn't get talked about much, and I haven't actually really played around with it much myself, but it has the potential to be a useful mod stat. Just if I get the chance, I'll play around with it sometime and see how that works out. And so next we're going to talk about dodge chance versus resistance. So your dodge chance refers to physical attacks, physical damage. If you're not aware, when you attack you attack your opponent or your opponent attacks you, there are multiple types of damage. You got your physical damage, which is like punching or just shooting them or something like that, and then you get your special damage, which is some sort of alternate form of damage. And they have different ways of being calculated into the RNG and the algorithms and whatnot. So yeah, and they have because of that, they impact your character in different ways. Okay, so next we're gonna compare dodge chance versus deflection chance, and then critical avoidance versus critical avoidance. And then you have armor versus resistance. So they are similar in ways, except that the armor, dodge chance, and critical avoidance apply to physical damage, incoming attacks, whereas resistance, deflection chance, and critical avoidance refer to incoming special attacks and special damage. So for the armor, that's going to help mitigate the damage. For your dodge chance, that's going to increase obviously your ability to dodge the attack altogether as far as physical attacks go. And then you have your critical avoidance, which helps you to avoid a critical hit. So even if that attack hits you, you still have the opportunity to mitigate the chance of it becoming a critical hit. And that is also useful for tanks especially. It helps increase their survivability. Same thing with dodge chance and armor. And for resistance, deflection chance, and critical avoidance, essentially the same thing, just applies to the special attacks versus the physical. Resistance is going to reduce the damage. Deflection is going to give you the better chance to deflect that special damage. So anytime you see a character deflect one of your attacks, it's because they deflected that special damage from your attack. And then you have your critical avoidance, which is pretty much the same thing for physical, and you're simply going to mitigate the possibility of getting a critical hit from an attack, even if it does hit you. And then you also do have your resistance penetration, which once again that applies to the ability to resist special damage, which we just talked about. But if you're on the offense and you're attacking, the resistance penetration of your character helps to mitigate the resistance of the target. So, and that pretty much. Oh yeah. So then you have offense. So then let's say you're looking at offensive mods. That will actually apply to your basic, physical, and special damage. It does not apply to crit damage, only your base damage. And then that's where the critical damage mods come in. That is applied to your critical damage if you land a critical hit. So that's the key difference between the offensive mods and the critical damage mods. And then you do have your defensive mods, which, if I'm understanding them correctly, applies to your armor percentage the same way the offense applies to your base physical and special damage. So, which would mean that it would also apply to your resistance as well as your armor. Your armor referring to physical damage incoming, and resistance referring to incoming special damage. So the defensive mods should boost those stat numbers, whereas the offense boosts the outgoing base and physical and special damage. So this can get a little confusing. There are a lot of different stats, and from my research, I have not been able to find a whole lot of information directly from CG regarding explanations of these stats and how they're applied. A lot of what I found, it comes from other people within the community that have figured it out and shared it, and or stuff that I've just figured out on my own even. And so yeah, it does get a bit confusing. So hopefully this video helps to clear some things up for you. And if you can understand what these stats do and how they're applied to the character and the battle, it does make it easier to figure out what kinds of mods to apply to which characters, and help you figure out what you want those characters to be able to do in the heat of battle, and especially in conjunction with the rest of the squad. So for a quick recap on the mods, you have your offensive mods, and this will apply to your basic physical and special damage. It does not apply to crit damage or crit chance. It's just the basic base damage that your character inflicts. So the damage that you inflict is mitigated by defense. As far as offensive mods go, the question remains, does it affect armor penetration or resistance penetration? I've not been able to find anything on this. My guess is that maybe it does, but without any additional research or definitive data, I can't really answer that definitively at this time. But my guess is that it might possibly affect armor penetration, And then as far as defense mods go, they boost your armor and resistance, to the best of my knowledge, and which helps you to survive an attack from your opponent. And if it's regular damage, special damage, your defense will help mitigate that damage. And your defense is also mitigated by your opponent's armor or resistance penetration. So the higher their armor resistance penetration, the more damage they're going to be able to do by bypassing a higher percentage of your defensive stats. And as for potency, those affect your ability to apply debuffs or remove buffs from your opponent. And on the opposite end of that is tenacity, which gives your squad the ability to resist debuffs and buff removal. So as far as the mods go, that's the basic recap of the stat breakdown. So if I missed anything, or if you're aware of any information that I did not include in this video or was not sure of myself, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more of them, please like on it. It really does help when you do that. It helps show me what kind of content you want to see, and stuff that that helps to guide me towards the other things that I can put out there for you. It really does help. It really does. And if you'd also like to see more, please don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. That way when I do get new videos up, you'll be able to, you get a better chance of catching them. So and it does help out the channel. It really does. It's always appreciated. So, well, thank you for watching. And oh yeah, so I do have an actual Discord channel now, and I'm still figuring it out, but the Cantina is live. And so if you're interested, I will leave a link to the Cantina, to the Rebel Squadron Discord, down below. So with that, I'll see you in the cantina, recruit. This is Rebel Squadron out.
Would you, like some aspirin, recruit?